Thank you for visiting my channel. This video is about how the credit reporting agencies have been forced to implement new rules and regulations and actually adhere to the Federal Trade Commission. We owe a debt of gratitude to Attorney General Schneiderman from New York and all of his staff who actually made this possible for the rest of the country. I thank him for all the hard work and all the obstacles he must have come up against. So I'm just kind of doing this little video with the little background information I found on kind of like the timeline and the sequence of events that transpired from 2015 and onward, and how all of this really came about. This is the 2015 press conference Mr. Schneiderman gave when the consensus from the three reporting credit agencies had been reached that they would be accepting the terms that was presented on the settlement. So this is the report that he gave about what happened, what new rights and privileges we will have, and what new protections we will have from the three major credit reporting agencies. These are the topics we're going to be covering. Attorney General Schneiderman and his groundbreaking consumer protection settlement with the three national credit reporting agencies and the role that settlement plays for consumers nationwide. Who is Consumer Data Industry Association and who do they support? What is the National Consumer Assistance Plan and how does that affect your credit report? Also, in here, you will find information about the new rules and their enhancing of our credit report accuracy, enhancing consumer experience, and understanding of their credit reports. Now, this is the company Consumer Data Industry Association, and it says empowering economic opportunity. That sounds like something really good, that a company would be involved in. This is CDIA. This is the organization that supports the credit reporting agency. This organization is their advocate. In their about statement, it says that they strive to educate consumers, media, legislatures, and regulators. How have they done that? How have they ensured the so-called help ensure fair and safe transaction of consumers? That is not true. What they've done is they have supported the credit reporting agencies in violating the Fair Credit Act. This organization spoke very disparagingly about this particular video that 60 Minutes did. It's a report they did, 40 million mistakes, talking about the credit reporting industry and what they do, the lack of transparency, the lack of any way to resolve conflicts. In the video, you will find that the attorneys who had sued Equifax and other agencies said that they would rather be sued in federal court than fix their systems. You have people who had to actually go to court to try to get fraudulent information off of their credit report. It is an excellent video. It will show you how they have been operating for decades and the suffering and the inhumane treatment people have received because of these three credit reporting agencies, the sorrows and the hardships that have been caused in this country because of that. This video helps you understand you were not crazy. There is something wrong with that system, and it's very good to watch. Now, this is the little note they put in on their website about the 60 Minutes. And as you can see here, they're talking about the part that they were contacted by 60 Minutes to ask for someone to be on camera to explain the problems with the credit reporting accuracy and the dispute process, which they declined. They asked for stuff in writing. Now, here they go to speak very unkindly about 60 Minutes. They came up with this idea, and you got to realize they're talking to their own constituents, so to speak, the people who are affiliated with them who use their service. And they went on to say 60 Minutes' reputation for favoring the sensational at the expense of factual. We decided better to alternate better alternative was to respond in writing, and they did. But you find that they question 60 minutes validity and their honesty, and they willing to say very unkind things to cover up their personal inadequacy. So that's what they did. And then as you can see by this statement here, they spoke very harshly about the presentation 60 Minutes did on the credit industry, and accused them of just needing a way to backfill the story with anecdotes and slanted interviews that would fit their conclusion. But that video gives an accurate representation of what's truly being done. Therefore, we want to provide a more complete and factual overview of the credit reporting industry. This was their response. And so they had sent out this information and accused 60 Minutes of not being fair and not paying attention to what they had submitted. And evidently, they have some, I don't know, misconception about what's happening in the credit reporting industry, and they're not even dealing in a world of fact, because even on their website, they have the nerve to say that 98% of all credit files were correct. And we all know that is not true. Okay, this is 2015 now. You have the 60-minute video and all of the ongoing investigation between the Federal Trade Commission, all the Attorney General's offices getting thousands of complaints all over the country about the way they're being treated by these various credit reporting agencies. And so it has turned into an epidemic of suffering and disparity and hardship caused by these companies and their fraudulent business practices. So by the time you get to March 2015, they're launching this thing called National Consumer Assistance Plan, and it's supposed to enhance credit report accuracy and consumer experience. But when you read the second paragraph, you would see where it starts down here. It says the plan was announced after, look at this, after, and it goes on to state, after the agreement that the New York Attorney General, Mr. Eric Schneiderman, reached with these people without their work, without the Attorney General, especially Mr. Schneiderman and all his staff and all they did, the Federal Trade Commission and other federal agencies, but especially Mr. Schneiderman fighting for the consumers of New York. This is why we as a nation now have actual redress for consumer issues, forcing the consumer credit agencies to work within the laws that already exist. Ah, May 20, 2015. This was when it all began. This is kind of like the wonderful day when it all happened. This is when the 31 states joined this organization they created called the National Consumer Assistance Plan that was launched in March. So this is because of the state attorney generals, because of Mr. Schneiderman. Now, this is what's happening in March 2017. It already has happened. So, this is wonderful. Now, the reporting of public records such as civil judgment and tax lien, they can no longer just put this stuff on your credit report without information. I could never understand how they could put stuff on your information so detrimental to you without your correct name, social security address, with all the necessary information to make sure and verify that it actually belonged to you. But that was the problem. And if you could prove it was not you, you still could not get it off your credit report unless you took them to federal court. But most people don't have the money for attorneys to do that. So it has caused untold suffering and hardship in this country. Okay, now you can get a freeze. I like this. They are finally, if you look at this slide, it says that they're announcing, that the members of the United States Armed Forces begin in the first half of 2018 under new guidelines. Active duty servicemen will be able to place, lift, and remove a security freeze on their credit file at no charge, regardless of whether they have been the victim of identity theft or not. And that is great because the military personnel need that protection when they're on deployment or transition somewhere out of the country. This is very important, and they're often the victims of identity theft. Now, this is the website to this National Consumer Assistance Plan. If you go to this website, this is their banner, and this is put up online from the CDIA, from the Consumer Data Industry Association. They're the ones that put this up. So, this is something you go to. Basically, it just states all the things that they are supposed to do. That's all it is. It's just like an informational site. And this is a statement that they have on there on the first page. And it says, under the plan, which was launched in March 2015, the three companies are taking a number of steps to improve data accuracy and quality and make it easier for consumers to understand their credit information. So it says the companies are implementing the plan over 3 year period with full implementation of the plan expected by March 2018. So it started in March 2015. And so most of the very good components to this agreement have already been implemented. And I'm sure there's only a few left to be implemented by March 2018. And these are the ones, if you look on the same page down below, it says among the highlights, and it just kind of touches on four of the real main issues. And one is the credit, this one with the little check mark here on your left. That one allows you to get a second credit report after you disputed some issues on your credit report. And the one with the medical emblem gives us those 180 days waiting period, which allows a consumer to work with their medical plans to get things taken care of and to make sure that the things on there are correct, because sometimes you can have a lag time getting the medical insurance done, getting your part paid and all that, to make sure everything is up to date. And I like this statement. It says the credit reporting agencies will also remove from credit reports previously listed medical collections that have been or are being paid by the insurance. That is great. Okay, debt that did not arise from a contract. This is the one that I think a lot of people will like. This includes traffic tickets, parking tickets, or fines. And this is wonderful because this would all now fall off your credit report. And the other one over here with the little spyglass and the shield, this is really good. People who have been victimized by identity theft and who have double uh, data on their credit file, what's called a mixed file. Now you actually have a component. Each agency had to create a department that would handle these files. That's why they make this little statement in here about consumers on their files will receive improved communication. Yeah, they had to create an actual department to do this. Now, what do we get out of this? What things do we get out of this? This is found on the National Consumers Assistance Plan website. And these are the things that we benefit from thanks to the AG in New York, Mr. Schneiderman. These are the things that they now have to adhere to. These are the credit reporting agencies' new rules and guidelines. Establish National Credit Reporting Work Group to review and identify best practices, something they probably should have had a long time ago. And require all data furnishers to use the most current reporting format. Data furnishers are the people who report on you, basically. They are the ones who send your information to the credit reporting agencies. A lot of times people think that the company where you have the loan or you do business with is reporting to the credit reporting agencies. That is not always true. These data furnishers go through public records, they contact companies, they collect information, and they in turn sell this information to the credit reporting agencies. So it is a money making thing for them. Now, this is very good point. Eliminate the reporting of debts that did not arise from a contract or an agreement. That is, to me, a no brainer. How can you put something on there when my signature's not on there anyway? Traffic tickets or fines. What does that got to do with my credit? Because I got a traffic violation that I'm going to have to pay. Prohibit medical debt from being reported on credit reports until after 180 days. And then always remember just what I said before, according to the new law, all that old stuff has to come off. It has to. So make sure you do your due diligence and pull your credit report. remove from credit report any previously reported medical collections. That's what I just said a minute ago, that have been paid or are being paid by the insurance company. So that's something you definitely want to look at. Now, require debt collectors to include original creditor information. This is something the debt validation letter did for you. It would force the creditor to have to produce the actual contract with your signature on it, not just some computer printout. But now this is part of the new transition. This is part of the new laws that they have to adhere to. It's always been there, but you had to fight to get it done. How can somebody accuse you of owning a debt when your name is on nothing, no contracts, no existence? It's just some computer printout. That could be anybody's debt that they put your name on, trying to collect it. Okay. This also requires these debt collector people to do regular update on the status of unpaid debts, remove debts no longer being pursued for collection. That means off of your credit report. They have to constantly update that information on your credit report. They cannot just leave this stuff on there indefinitely. Okay, this one I really love. Monitor the data furnishers. These furnishers have in the past wreak havoc on this country. They put stuff on your credit report when you try to challenge it. They say, yeah, it's right, they're wrong. And because of the way the credit reporting agencies operated, you could not get this stuff off. So now these people are being held accountable. Now they have non compliance rules that they can fall under if they're not doing their job, and corrective actions will be taken against them for not complying. Now, this part is supposed to be about helping us understand our credit report better or giving us a better experience. I know we would all love that. So let's see. Eliminate any policies requiring the consumer to obtain a credit report before filing a dispute. I always thought that was crazy. If you knew something was wrong, why did you have to get a credit report to get a dispute started? I never could understand that. Promote the annual creditreport.com. Unfortunately, on their websites, they were not doing that. They were so busy trying to sell you stuff, you could not go to one of their websites to get to that link. You had to know that annualcreditreport.com web address. But now they have to put it on their homepage. They have to put it in a prominent place where consumers can find it. Because they in the past were so busy trying to sell you some kind of service, they was not interested in you finding this free site. Provide special attention to consumers who have been victims of fraud, identity theft, or who have credit information, a mixed file, what they call it, belonging to another person on their file. In the past, you would have to sue these people to get that stuff off. In that video, that 60-minute video, there's this lady who Marty Croft is interviewing who had A1 credit. But all of a sudden, she's getting turned down for bank loans. This lady has a job. She has excellent income. And she's trying to find out why. Every time they would send her a credit report, nothing negative was on there. They was having, this that people don't realize there's actually these two credit reports, the one you get and the one these companies get. So now they have to give you both. So this lady found out that she has some stuff on her credit report after 2 or 3 years of fighting with these credit reporting agencies from some lady in Utah. Name was totally different, but it somehow was on her credit report. Well, in the video, you will find out that this lady got a letter, a document from the woman in Utah to send to the credit reporting agencies to let them know that that was not that was her debt. This lady went through all of this with an attorney and everything. Went on for a couple of years. Finally, she had to take them to federal court and sue Equifax to get her credit straightened up. Okay, this one says we now have dispute. We now have the right to dispute this stuff. And it's so good because it says consumers who successfully dispute an error can now get a free credit report. In the past, you would have to wait or pay for it. So now, if you have a dispute and you fight with them, you definitely want to request a second report to be sure that the corrections have been made. Okay, Death notices. Now, if you report someone has passed away to one agency, it will now be reported to all three. This will close up a lot of that craziness of people using people's information who have passed away and creating identities off of that. Okay, they're supposed to provide additional education about the content on credit reports and dispute process. I think this is really good because in the past you would get something so cryptic you didn't know why it was turned down, who they contacted. So even if you wanted to dispute the outcome, you didn't have enough information. Now I made this one big. This says establish media campaign. Well, this did happen in New York. I don't know if it happened in your states or not, but they actually did this major campaign to make people aware of all the new changes and credit issues that people can now get resolved legally, and it's free. Okay, this is really good. Provide additional information in consumers' dispute response letters about the dispute process, like the previous one about getting the extra credit report. This helps you have more information so you'll know what to do. So, this is so important when you get it so you can be satisfied about the outcome or not, but at least you'll understand why the outcome, the dispute turned out the way it did. Now, I made this one huge. Monitor these data furnishers dispute response because that's who gets your dispute. If you send it to one of the three credit agency and it's about a car loan, well, the company that got the loan is the person the credit agency is going to send your dispute to. Now these people have to show that they have taken some corrective actions. Now they're being required to follow rules. There are penalties now. So if they're non-compliant with their dispute investigation, they now are responsible. So they have responsibilities and there are accountabilities now in place to help protect us from these unscrupulous people. And hopefully it will put the unscrupulous data furnishers out of business. What have we gained? I added this back. I did a little slight video on my channel about civil judgments and liens because I think this is one of the worst miscarriages of justice to you can do to someone. And beginning July the 1st, all public records collected from credit reporting purposes for credit reporting purposes, including bankruptcies, civil judgments, tax liens, must contain minimal identifying information and be collected at more frequent interviews as follows. This is something that has just really hurt my heart, because why put something criminal on somebody's life when you could do your due diligence, not just run down there and jot down some names, half names, part names, and that's what I guess is being done now. Minimum reporting of name, address, and social security number and or birth date. This is just to me a no-brainer. How could you even be allowed to put some on someone's credit report without the correct information? Something as serious as one of the above mentioned items. How could this have been done? I am so glad of the changes that this foolishness can now stop. You can only imagine how many people have been hurt because of this. Okay, now they must visit the courthouse regularly. They must go and update their information, make sure this stuff they're putting on your credit report is accurate. They have to go and revisit those records at least every 90 days. I'm ending this video as I started with the settlement that Attorney General Schneiderman got with the three consumer credit agencies. With his work and his staff and his team made possible for New York, many of the things he received in the settlement, he helped it become a portion of the new credit laws for the whole country. We owe him a debt of gratitude we can never repay. Truly, I am thankful for what he has done, his whole team, and all the attorney generals who participated in the Federal Trade Commission. But most of all, I thank you, New York, for allowing Mr. Schneiderman to be of assistance for the consumers in this country. Thank you again for visiting my channel and watching this video, and just have a great and joyous day.